On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
This whole, idea of, how people are, how people function in relationships, how people think, how women think. But I do believe that it has absolutely nothing with us trying to overpower or dominate a man. I think that
No.
just wanted to be able to have options to explore other things in life, to do other things, and not just, run into the role of being a bride and being a mother and having this dream and playing with dolls and doing all this stuff. Like, what about the woman who likes to play football? What about the woman who likes to play basketball?
Welcome to Lapeef, Let's Talk. If you're just tuning in, we about to ready to go into our fourth topic, which is, are women alpha because it is a necessity because of society, or is it because it's naturally who they are? Again, are women alpha because it's a necessity because of society, or is it because it's naturally who they are?
Hey, let's have Brother Daniels define alpha for for the audience. You know what I mean? Just so we can level set.
All right, Anti, what you think about that? Are women alpha because it's a necessity because of society, or is it because it's naturally who they are?
All right, so I'm gonna answer the question first, and then perhaps the alpha description will come out in the answer. But I don't believe that women are alpha at all. I don't believe there's a such thing as an alpha woman. And I
For
think
some reason, I knew you was gonna say that. I'm glad I queued you up. I teed you up first. Go ahead, brother.
I don't believe that there's a such thing as an alpha woman. I think that that default label that women try to attach themselves to is a result of them trying to compare themselves to men. And I think that that's a huge mistake because what we don't really attach ourselves to is the idea that we are completely different. Like, we are different in so many different ways, and instead of us embracing that and celebrating it, we compare ourselves regularly, and then we try to attach labels that more or less compare ourselves or put ourselves on par with one another, instead of identifying the fact that our differences does not necessarily mean that we're less than. It just means that we're unique and we have different talents and levels in which we can elevate. So, for example, I like to identify women as more nurturing. Not saying that men can't be nurturing, or, you know what I'm saying, that there are men that more closely align with that nurturing element. But I think that women are naturally more nurturing. I think that women are, by default, especially earlier in their life, they tend to be more intelligent than men. They tend to be more reasonable in their ability to be able to make definitive decisions or long-term decisions, whereas men, I think, earlier in their life are more short-term. And I'm not even sure if that's genetic or if that's a scientifically proven thing that aligns with how well our brains are developed. But I think that women by default have qualities that we should champion that don't necessarily align with the idea of being alpha. And so when I say women aren't alpha, I'm moving from the perspective, if I was to identify some things that men are better than women at, right? Like, men are naturally stronger physically than women. Men tend to have a conquering mentality, or a mentality, for example, of being a hunter. A man is generally more competitive than women are in every point in their life. Like, we play sports harder, stronger, we go harder. Our bodies are built to withstand more as it relates to the rigors of everyday grind, and us being able to adapt to society to be able to provide and protect more better than maybe women may be able to by default. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't women that can do things awesome, or in some examples better, or on the level of men. But I think that those differences are what should be championed and celebrated. So, to bring it back to the whole idea of being alpha, I think that there's, by society standards, and I'm not even talking about today, I'm talking about historically, there have been men that are weaker than other men that subject themselves to the narrative or to what other men subject them to. When I walk in a room, men move different when I walk in a room. They don't necessarily, it's more of a respect thing. Sometimes, depending on the room that I walk in, it's a fear thing, because they know that I can make or break their futures based off of the decision that I make, depending on what position of power that I'm talking about. So when you talk about alpha men, I think you're talking about men that move a certain type of way. They're able to make decisions that empower other people. They have the power to be able to determine other people's futures. And I think by default, you see that in more men than women than you do in women, because naturally women don't move in that type of way. The only reason women are in the spaces that they are, as far as having to raise, children the way that they have and take on, parental roles that is naturally reserved for two parents, is because men dropped the ball. And so they were forced to be in certain positions, but by default, that is not what they naturally navigated to, because they moved a certain type of way. They was never forced to be in that position. So me personally, I don't think that there's ever such thing as an alpha woman. I think a woman will adapt, but by default, I don't think that that's what she wants. I don't think a woman wants to grow up wanting to have to go to work every day. Whereas men, by default, we understand that's our role. That's what's going to define whether our greatness in some respects, and that's what we accept.
Hey, Danielle, I know when Anton first started talking, you were shaking your head. So I'm gonna go to you next. Are women alpha because it's a necessity due to society, or is it because it's naturally who they are? And feel free to respond to Anton.
Uh, I think some women are alpha, and it's because of who they are. I don't. When I look at an alpha woman, I don't relate it to a man. I relate it to how she is with other women, I guess, because it's very difficult if you're an alpha woman dealing with an alpha man. I feel like he's going to have his way. He's going to overpower you. You have to be. It'll be a challenge, but I look at it as in female relationships. There are definitely type A alpha women, and I think that it's how they are socialized. It's how they're raised. Maybe an alpha daddy raised their alpha daughter.
Can I ask you a question, Danielle?
Mm-hmm.
So, is there a such thing as a beta woman?
Yes.
There's a such thing as a beta woman, because again, going back to the other conversation, I think that women that want to be housewives is not necessarily beta. I think that should be championed, and then that's awesome. So you would use this narrative and say that there are beta women also, because in order
Yes.
for there to be an alpha, there needs to be a beta. So I just want to make sure.
I don't think it has to do with her profession. I think it's her personality. You can be an alpha housewife. You can be running the ship and the show and the husband and the kids and everything. I just don't think it's. I mean, I guess wouldn't want to call a woman like, oh, you're a beta woman. You're a little.
But why? If you able to easily identify an alpha, why can't you identify a beta?
I can identify a beta man fast.
No. We talk about women. We talk about women.
They're more passive to me. They just let things happen or go with the flow. They let alpha women dominate them in conversations, in a lot of ways. But sometimes, honestly, just because you're an alpha woman and you're dominating another woman, that doesn't always make you the strongest person. That beta woman may be more cunning, smarter.
So is she beta if she's smarter and more cunning and wiser in her decisions? That's what I'm wondering. Like, if we're
I
going to
think
use this term
it's how I
as it
view
relates to
their
women,
personalities initially.
I don't get it, but okay. I respect
A
it.
lot of alpha women are just very strong. You're not going to run them over. They're going to dominate other women. I feel like I have some friends that I would consider kind of beta.
That sounds like an unruly woman to me, but okay.
A beta woman? No.
What you defining as an alpha woman?
No, you could check a person nice, nasty. I mean, you don't have to get ghetto with them. Every alpha woman isn't necessarily like unruly, ghetto. They can check you in nice, nasty ways. But I don't compare an alpha woman to an alpha man. I don't think she's gonna conquer him, honestly. Not the personality type I'm thinking of. Mm-mm.
Be next. I know that you like the alpha word, so are women alpha because it's a necessity due to society, or is it because it's naturally who they are?
I don't know if we're talking about like personality characteristics. To me, it's all learned behavior, right? So the thing is, I think we all kind of adopt behaviors based on how we're bred, our upbringing. Some things are innate. Um, it's hard for me to talk about this, but I shifted a little bit because I think from more of like a, for me, like a more psychological aspect is like a type A and type B personality. You know,
Yes.
uh, type A personality is pretty someone that's very headstrong, impatient, but always very much doing a lot, wanted to aspire to do many things, and they associate their self worth with achievement. You know, they allow achievement to define who they are. Type B personality is more so calm, low key in demeanor, uh, chill, still assertive, because I think somebody that's a type A is an aggressive person, you know, very aggressive, but they allow these things to kind of associate to define who they are. Um, I think that so the question is like, are there women that, do they have to be alpha? I feel it's a choice because it's learned behavior. You could choose to turn up, you could choose not to. I mean, it's not like this is something that's part of our DNA code that we're stamped as an alpha versus a beta. I feel like people gravitate toward things that like suit them as far as their natural selection of who they are. So, um, do they have to be? I think that it's all situational where, yeah, they can be. You know, a woman can be an alpha, a man can be an alpha, a man can be a beta, a woman can be a beta. I think it's all about that person on who they define who they want to be, you know? And I think a lot of people don't sit down and think about who they are. Like, some people like being aggressive. Some people like associating who they are with accolades and things like that. Good for them. That's how I define alpha or type A. Type B, somebody that's assertive, more chill, calm. In some cases, you could maybe even say docile, depending on how you look at it, but that's a type B. A lot of times I think it's situational. Some people are type A at work, type B at home.
Yeah.
Some people are type A at home and type B at work based on the function of their job. So is it a necessity? I mean, is it something they have to do? I think it's based on the situation. We're talking about in a relationship. I think it depends on their mate. You mentioned it, Anton, like, hey, a type A, maybe a complementary piece is dating somebody that's a type B. A type B personality, somebody that's more flexible, adaptive. If we talk about it's an alpha, they're very headstrong, right? They know what they know. Everything is from a very absolute aspect. So,
but the terms matter. So, like for example, are you into sports, Knicks?
yep.
Have you ever seen a beta man lead a team to a championship? I'm just saying the terms matter. Like we not gonna act like just because society don't like our terms that it's not real. Like terms matter. I've never seen a beta male lead a team to a championship.
As much as we make jokes and memes about Kawhi Leonard did lead the Raptors to a championship, being like you could say Derrick Rose.
But my point is that
you want to define him as beta.
Well, Derrick Rose has never won a championship, number one. But my point is that
Kawhi Leonard did.
But the point is that it's not about whether or not you're loud or aggressive that defines you as an alpha male. You can move in a certain type of way and don't say nothing, and people respect you because they understand your qualities that define you as a leader. So it's not whether you're assertive or aggressive. It's about the actions by which you take that highlight whether or not people are going to look at you this way or they're going to look at you that way. So I would say that Kawhi is very much an alpha, but it's not defined by how you speak or what you say. It's defined by the actions that back up what it is that you do.
It is learned behavior though. So again, it's like it goes back to like
it's not. It's survival. Right? It's survival.
It's like how you see somebody that may be the dominant person that's on the court, right, for a particular team, and then they take a secondary role on another team. That shows this situational, right? So D Wade was the alpha on the Miami Heat, right? But then when LeBron got there, you could say he became the beta. He became the secondary player, right?
D Wade
So,
was
to me,
never the
that shows
alpha. If you look at those teams, he was never the vocal leader. He was never the leader in the locker room. He was the talent. He was the talent, but he was not the leader of those teams. He wasn't.
That's
I agree with
perspective.
you,
I
Nick.
disagree with
I
you on
agree
that.
with you,
But
Nick.
we're
Yeah.
not here to talk about sports, though. But I get where you're going. So to me, I think whether you're alpha or beta, it depends on the situation. It's situational. Because some people are alphas at work. And
Because
maybe
D Wade
beta at
did
home
win
because I'm
some
cool with being beta.
championships.
And the thing is, so can we go here again with this? Because I've been trying not to talk about it. But again, this is another binary viewpoint, Anton, that it has to be very this or that. You can't be both, right? I know you don't live. You live in a very absolute world, a very matter of fact
Black
world,
or white.
and it can't be ambiguous, you know. So that's the only part where
Ain't no
I
gray.
challenge where how to respond.
Yeah, I mean, either you're a winner,
I don't agree with
either
your
you're a winner or you're a
philosophy.
loser. I don't give participating trophies. Either you won or you lost.
Well, if we're staying with the sports theme, right, and we talk about Kawhi Leonard, much as we talk about memes about the way he laughed, the thing is, he's a very quiet individual, very reserved individual. You could say even docile. And technically, if we talk about type B, that would be in alignment with the characteristic of a type B personality.
I don't think he's docile
at his workplace, he led the Raptors to a championship. So then he became a type A for that situation. But when he played in San Antonio, he was a type B because he wasn't the man. Tim Duncan was the man. So, I mean, it goes back to situations. I know why you mad, though. You mad because I'm not agreeing with you. And whenever I don't agree with you, you be big mad about what I have to say. I gave your ass a book of definitions.
Oh,
and then
my
anything,
God.
I educated your ass this evening on shit that you didn't even know. But the thing is, just because you didn't know and it didn't come out of your mouth, now you're mad. But I'll let you have it.
I love it.
I'm gonna address that later. I'm gonna let Tawana go.
Thank
No,
you,
you
guys.
address it now, man. You're an alpha, right? You're an alpha.
Ooh.
I am.
That's
I am, but I didn't want to.
I would love to hear this.
I didn't want to embarrass you on camera, so I'm trying to let Tawana go. So I'm gonna let you feel good about yourself. I'm gonna let you feel good about yourself.
A whole mess.
We all know what the hierarchy is, but go ahead, Tawana.
Oh my God, I love.
Here you go.
You know what?
Hey, you do that on purpose, bro. I hate shit like hierarchy, and I just said that. You a button presser, man. I know what you try to do.
Are you an
man.
alpha?
B-Nix know what I am. What am I, B-Nix?
Oh, you said Anton, you're asking him, is he an alpha?
B-Nix, what am I?
Which means it's not clear to you.
What
Which
am I,
means there's some
B-Nix?
ambiguity. I'm just saying, because you wouldn't ask if it was clear. If you knew what he was, you wouldn't ask, right?
She know what I
I'm
am.
just saying.
You know,
She know what I
know why
am.
he's
You know what I am, and B-Nix know what I am too.
I didn't ask you, Anton. She did. I mean, I didn't ask you what you are. I'm just saying it may not be clear.
We all know what the hierarchy is. Let's be clear.
Let me address this because a lot of people are making comments about my relationship status and my marital status, and I just want to make this very clear that I am in a relationship. Yes, it is, and that I am in a relationship, and that I am getting married in a few months.
Shit,
So just FYI, Mister. I am getting married, so I do have a place on this show to talk about my experience.
Oh my God!
So let's move next, and then let's talk about this entire alpha and beta thing because
I y'all gotta get off that, man.
Please, y'all need to, because I don't know if you don't see my ring on my finger, but maybe you missed it. But that's okay. I'll just keep on talking anyway. The alpha and beta thing, to me, you all know how I feel about that. I don't believe in an alpha or beta, male or female. So I do agree with what you said, B-Nix, about type A and type B personality. And I do think that's very real. Like, I think there's different personality types. I think that, some people are a little bit, more aggressive than others. I think some people think differently from others. I think they have different personality traits, and that makes them who they are. Now, as the rise of feminism came, I think that a lot of people felt like feminism changed women. What I believe is that women did not want to be defined or put in a box. Like, I think that women did want to explore other things, and they wanted to have freedom not to just be a housewife or be a mother. As you can see, some women choose not to do those things. Some women don't want to be, married. Some women don't want to have children. So I think that women just wanted options, right? I think there's a lot of us who want to be married and who want to have kids and who want to embrace our nurturing side. And I just think there's so many people who that's not a natural thing for them, right? And some people just don't want to do that. And so I do believe that, yes, we naturally just wanted to have other things. I don't believe that we're naturally alpha, like the question says, or that there's some, difference between this type of woman and that type of woman, to the degree of, hey, this woman is more aggressive and, more demanding, more dominating, and she wants to overpower a man, and like all these stereotypical things that you use to define what alpha is. Even on the flip side, which I totally disagree that men are in this box of either you alpha or you beta. Like, I absolutely think that is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. And I know we love to talk about alpha and beta on here. So I try to use y'all definition to my best of my ability to try and, make some sense of this whole entire thing. But the only thing that I can really come to terms with is this type A and type B personality that B Nix brought up. And I think that was an interesting point. And actually, it made me think differently about this whole, idea of, how people are, how people function in relationships, how people think, how women think. But I do believe that it has absolutely nothing with us trying to overpower or dominate a man. I think that we just wanted to be able to have options to explore other things in life, to do other things, and not just run into the role of being a bride and being a mother and having this dream and playing with dolls and doing all this stuff. Like, what about the woman who likes to play football? What about the woman who likes to play basketball? What about those women? And I mean, those women, they get married and they have successful lives too. And they don't want to just be limited, based on what your idea of what a woman should be. And I think that's the whole idea of it. And I do agree that there are some more dominating women, as Danielle said. I just don't call them alpha. Like, I do agree with what
do you call them?
I now that B Nix kind of said this type A and type B, I like that. I might do that. I think it's a more neutral term, and it applies to not only women but men as well. I don't think it is specific to us, and I do think that your personality is learned behavior. So it's stuff that you went through in life. It's stuff that you learned from, your upbringing, from seeing other women, from everything in life, has taught me to be who I am. So I think that, all those things matter. And that's it. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. I was actually reading the comments and laughing at, some of the things that everyone else was saying. But I do agree with a lot of what B Nix said, and a lot of what you said too, Danielle. I just don't, I don't like those labels. They just drive me crazy when you guys.
I don't think that we as women, we never. Okay, women in my sorority may say this, okay, but I don't think as women we say things like that. I'm an alpha woman. We don't
talk like that.
I don't hear women say stuff like that
because it's
like,
not.
You an alpha woman, no. It's just like
because first of all, it's going to be very offensive in woman world when you start saying stuff like that. I mean,
when you start,
it's going to be like, so what you trying to say? I'm weak. I'm like, we don't say stuff like that. That's not.
I mean, it's just not as important to us, that title of alpha. I think with men like their ego strokes. I'm sorry, I do. And so, being called an alpha makes you feel great about yourself. But for women, it's like, I don't give, you call me whatever you want. I know what I bring to the table, baby. I know what kind of woman I am. I know what I got going on. I know everything that no word can validate me. Nobody on this show can validate me with their word. if you call me a beta, I'll be like, okay, but I know what I give to my man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what I bring to the table. So
Right.
beta or not.
That's not even
That's just
true.
how it goes,
And I
you
hate
know?
to even say this, but that's not true, because if it was true, then you wouldn't get offended by a lot of the stuff that is said on the show on a regular
Well,
basis.
I get offended with what you say about women in general. It don't even apply to
But if
me.
it
I
don't
just
apply
feel,
to you,
I
then why
just
would
get
you get
offended because I know women, you know, who are different, and like
Because it's a misrepresentation of
it's a
women.
misrepresentation. And I do
I mean,
think
if
that as a
you
woman,
say something about me,
as a woman, I am on this show, and I do feel like sometimes I can go down the pigeonhole with you guys, and I can like get on one side, and I'm like, Tawana, you know, like you really have to redirect and rethink some of these conversations, and sometimes they make me so angry. But I'm a passionate person in general, you know, so it has nothing to do with whether I'm angry or not. You know, anybody in my life will tell you how passionate I am about an issue if I really feel affected by it.
Well,
It caught that
you are
emotion.
outnumbered here.
And I'm outnumbered. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you. I'm outnumbered. Exactly. And so it's hard to stay controlled when you're outnumbered, and it's just so many different, you know, and we're trying to present one side, you know, so I love having women. I'm always nice to every woman on the show. I don't feel no sense of competition with any woman. I don't know if that's the purpose, but I don't feel that way. I'm always pleasant and loving. And even if they disagree with me, I just love the support. So that's just how I am. I mean, it is.
here's the key, JR. You can't have it both ways. If you're going to say that there are alpha women, which a lot of women like to say, then that means that you got to look at it from both sides and say, okay, well, what is a beta woman? But then when you ask that question, they don't want to participate in that level of the conversation anymore, because in order for there to be an alpha, there needs to be a beta. In order for there to be a leader, there needs to be followers. The point that I'm making is that if you're going to have that narrative, be able to support it by actually identifying it from both sides, not just as it pertains to what make you feel good when you want to compare yourself to men. We want to say and use these terms that men have historically been using for a long time, and that we saying there is alpha men and beta men, and we can have that discussion. Like, that is a debate for whether or not it's real or not. But all I'm saying is, if women want to insert themselves into the conversation, then be able to support it by also saying what a beta woman is too. But you can't have that conversation because women don't even think like that. Not only do they not think, not only do they not think like that, but they don't even look at other women like that. Like, the whole idea behind.
I mean, some women have called me an alpha.
The whole idea behind is painting as in B. Nick's words, a docile woman, is also to be championed and celebrated, because there's nothing wrong with a woman moving and operating in that way. As a matter of fact,
oh my God,
a lot of men prefer women that don't operate from a position of where they feel like they have to exude some level of power or showcase whatever it is that they're doing as a woman. Like, if you are naturally that, then you're naturally that. But at the same time, again, we can have a conversation, but it has to be a beta if it's going to be an alpha. You can't have an alpha by itself.
I want to say something, because you brought something up, and I feel like you pointed me right in the direction of what a beta woman is. An alpha woman is a leader. A beta woman is a follower. When I really think about it, that's what it is.
But a great leader was once a phenomenal follower. That's the thing.
No,
like, we think that leaders is just leaders.
What I'm referring to is there are some women that are just strong-headed. They are leaders. And there are a whole lot of women that they can't do anything without looking to the left and the right. Should I do this? Should I do that? What you think? That's more of a beta woman. And she's always going to follow an alpha woman. Look in friend groups. You're going to see them everywhere.
Okay, well, I'm definitely an alpha then. No, I'm just playing. Well, thank you for that definition, Danielle. I am definitely an alpha. You know, I don't really let people define me. I don't let men define me. So I am very different. I know a lot of women who really do care about that, and that's a value to them. I'm that kind of woman that's like, well, I will figure it out or get out my space. I really don't care. That's how I operate. That's how I've always been. So, you know, I guess that alpha and beta thing is just like really ridiculous to me. I just don't really get the purpose of it. I understand what people are saying, like society defines people that way, and society always wants to rank people and put people first and second. And so I think we naturally think that that hierarchy is something that we have to incorporate in everyday life. And so we put women and we put men on these high and low levels, and we try to define men based on character and value, when a man can make the lowest amount of money and his character can be better than any man on this planet.
And don't no woman want
value
it.
higher than
That is a lie.
I just think that that's just, to me, I just have a different perspective on it, I guess, in general. And so I like, I look at people's character, their heart, and their family values, and other things. Like, those things also make a difference to me. Like, I don't want to be with a man who disrespects his mother. I don't want to be with a man who is just like, who cursing, who ignorant, who rude, who a thug, who embrace that culture. Like, I don't want to be with certain type of men. So I don't care how much money you got, I'm not going to be with you, So I think that's the difference between, like, so I don't know.
Anton, once the women get tired of being dogged out by the high quality man or whoever you call them, they will lower.
But what makes you
think character eventually?
What makes you think that characteristic
after you realize that a man's money does not make him a good man, and you're going to deal with a whole bunch of bullshit from this man, cheating, disrespect. He may be classy on the outside,
but I see what you're doing there, Danielle. Is you change your narrative.
True. I agree with that.
Because a bad person is a bad person. It doesn't have anything to do with.
I believe a lot of these high value men are dressed up garbage. Period.
Well, that means that they're not.
They have money. They have money. No.
But they have no character.
That man on that video, I forget whatever his name is. That man is not of high value. That man, he is very disrespectful. He has a very nasty inside, and it's very difficult to listen to someone who does not have a good heart and good character.
But you're missing the point. You're missing the point.
I'm not missing.
No, I'm not. And this is where you're missing the point. Is because nobody defined character as a like negative character as a value by which high value men operate. Just because you're a bad person don't mean that you're a high value man. It's beta men that's pedophiles. Like, it don't mean anything.
There are alpha men that are pedophiles too.
Wait, you gotta listen. You gotta listen to get the point. The point is that high value men don't dog their women. So you using that as a talking point in order to define them is inaccurate. What I'm saying is that
I've been in the group. I've listened to I'm sorry, guys. I don't remember that man's message. And I am not coming at your character, Anton, but I have heard some things that you said, and I feel like a man of high value does not have that kind of negative view of women.
Do you even know where it came?
Attitude.
Now I gotta educate you. Now I gotta educate you.
That's right.
Because I don't even think.
Go ahead.
I don't even think you know where.
I agree with you.
Okay.
You don't even know where it comes from.
Okay.
Like it comes from historically in survival techniques as it relates to society. So historically, people have had to survive, and in order for a tribe or a group of people to survive, there needed to be men that operated a certain type of way to make the difficult decisions.
And I understand
the person. So as it relates to that, nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the technology and the way in which we live. Women, and I will tell you, and even Tawana, because I've heard you say it on this show, you would not have talked to a dude that wasn't at a certain level or didn't have itself together financially. All those are qualities of high value men. So for us to say that character is the defining factor, when we know that character alone is not enough for a woman to be able to follow behind a guy, is inaccurate. Like, come on,
women should be defining who is high value, not the man.
That's right.
We're doing that.
They do. And you know how they do? They don't do based off of these conversations.
Because my definition is different from that definition.
Yeah, but your actions speak to mine. It wasn't the actions of women speak to what I say.
It wasn't
not what we saying on Facebook. That's what matters.
It wasn't
when women come up, they go for guys.
It wasn't based on what
that's what they go for.
He financially brought to the table. Because if that was the case, then I would have stayed in other relationships where, I dated millionaires and such. That wasn't what it was. Okay. I'm telling you that it was totally different for why I chose that person. And it had a lot to do with family values and character and our interaction and the way we communicated and like that atmosphere, that whole entire, it wasn't solely based on, oh, he's making all this money. Because honestly, those things happened later in the relationship where like our lifestyles changed and everything happened. So
the divorce
don't
rate,
agree with that. That's all I'm saying. I don't
the
agree
divorce
with
rate says that the number one reason why people get divorced is over money. So I'm tired of people telling me that money don't matter. I'm tired of people acting like all of these characteristics don't play a role. And so when I say stuff like these are the characteristics of a high value man and high value men define certain things, we don't base it off of what women say and what women think. We're not gonna wait for women to define us because it's the actions that determine whether or not we high value or not. So it don't matter what women is saying; they picking winners like us. That's what happens.
There are so many women that divorce these high value men. Women file for divorce more than men.
That's right.
It's probably like 80-90% women. Men rarely are the ones that's filing for divorce. Okay.
Definitely.
So we're picking them and then divorcing them. And then women get wet.
My ex-husband was
lower
working.
income man.
My ex-husband was working when I divorced him. I was unemployed.
Okay, you were like,
but here's
the judge even said, like,
you think you picking high value men, but those men are really betas. Y'all don't even know what a high value man is. How can you?
If a high value man is,
I do know what it is. I don't acknowledge
the man that you speak of. Honey, please, who wants them?
I don't acknowledge it. I do agree with you.
No,
I know what you're saying.
I'm winning. I'm winning.
I don't acknowledge that terminology of high value men. I just don't. I do understand what a high value man is, and
these
I've heard
very women that's in the group that you think is disagreeing with me. I'm telling you that it's not that way. They very much agreeing with me. It's very different from what people are presenting.
I mean, that's okay if they do. I mean, they can agree with whoever they want to agree with. I don't think that they right. and a lot of them
thing that I agree on is that a very small percentage of women are going to.
A lot of them are looking for love.
Supposed high value men. Very small.
I'm just saying, you got to be. People got to be open to other people's ideas and understanding of life, because if they just listen to you, they gonna be stuck in a little box.
If they listen to me, they gonna win in everything they ever tried to do in their life.
No, not at all.
Listen to me, they're gonna be great.
No.
Well,
yo, fellas,
I'm definitely living my best life right now. I ain't listening to nothing Anton telling me. So I'm just gonna tell y'all the truth.
All right, y'all.
Well, Anton, can we see the receipts? What woman have you coached who married a high value man and she's happy?
JR know about him. Ask him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tell me about him. I would love to hear.
Let's see the receipts. Give us the receipts.
Give me one example.
I done made more men millionaires, and I've made women phenomenal wives. That's what I've done.
So you believe you can make a woman? You're a man saying that you can make a woman a phenomenal woman.
I can change your life.
Like men tell women,
I can change your life.
Teach a man how to be a man when you're a woman. You can't teach a woman how to be a wife.
You can't.
I don't believe your life.
I don't believe no man can teach a woman how to be a wife. Period.
You can't.
I mean, I think she just gets defined by whatever her man think is a wife supposed to be, instead of actually embracing her natural talents and doing what she knows naturally to do as a woman. I don't believe no man can tell me anything about being a woman. Not one thing. That's probably why I don't listen to the men. That's why I get a little agitated, because I'd be like, "How you gonna tell me about being a woman?" Right. I agree. I agree with that. Girl, you can come back. When you gonna come back? I love you.
Whenever.
Jay, I wish you come back on the show.
All right, y'all. Great conversation tonight. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate our guest Danielle for sitting in on us. If you guys don't know, Our YouTube channel is Lapeef Let's Talk. All you got to do is put Lapeef Let's Talk in the search and it'll pop right up. Please subscribe, share our page. Good conversations there. And set the notifications so you don't miss a video. Until next time.